Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about brands in the fashion industry that have been racist. Now I got this idea from looking at the Pull Up or Shut Up challenge and with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and making sure that being part of the Black community that our voices are heard in places where society benefits off of us from, and a lot of times dealing with cultural appropriation and making sure that people are being held accountable. Now, I decided to do fashion brands because I know that there's been a lot of controversy. So I wanted to shed a light and really break it down for you guys as to how exactly are these brands being racist and why hasn't anyone called them out, or what happened after they did call them out. So I've done a lot of research, and also I have already known about a couple of these topics for a while now, and especially some brands that personally I've chosen to stay away from. And I'm not condemning anyone that doesn't stay away from these brands. It's just more so of a reminder, like, hey, this is where you're spending your money, and this is how they view Black people or people of different ethnicities in this society. The first brand that I'm going to talk about is going to break a lot of y'all's hearts, and that is Gucci. Now, I don't know if a lot of you guys knew about the fall winter collection in 2018. So Gucci released a sweater. I will pop a picture here. I don't even think I have to say anything about this sweater. Gucci released a sweater, a black turtleneck with red lips. Why? Oh, why? So for those of you that might not see anything that's wrong with this sweater is basically a representation of blackface. And blackface was used by a lot of whites during Jim Crow, and even earlier than that, to imitate Black people. And so for Gucci to come out with a sweater like this, it's just tacky, poor research, and they didn't do their homework. Now, Gucci since then has apologized and did remove the sweater from store shelves. Was that enough? Was that enough to make an apology and remove it from your shelves? And then to top it off, it launched in February, which is Black History Month. This $890 blackface sweater launched in Black History Month. Now, Gucci has said that they are for diversity, they speak for diversity, and they basically respect all races. But I think they missed the mark on this, and for a while now, since then, I have not bought Gucci, looked at Gucci, gone into a Gucci store. I mean, I can't even, how old am I? Can't even buy a lot of Gucci anyway, if I wanted to. I mean, $890 for a sweater? I can't buy that. They say, oh, this incident is a powerful moment for the Gucci team. Now, I understand that you're taking responsibility for what you did and realizing that it was a mistake, but it shouldn't take of the public having an outrage or bringing to your attention that, hey, this resembles blackface. This is blackface, for you to understand culture. Who on their, did they not have any Black people on their PR? Did they not do any research on the design? I mean, I just feel like it was poorly done, and for you to finally take accountability after it's been put out on shelves and after it's been filmed and photographed, and you can still find it on eBay. I don't know. Now we're gonna go on to another brand that, this one was worse than Gucci. Burberry. Now I'm gonna pop a picture of what Burberry did. Another sweater Yet instead, this time, the drawstrings are in the shape of a noose. I think that was beyond poor taste. I just think, like, that's really obvious. Like, a noose, a noose. You put a noose on the hoodie and tied it up. That one, I have no words. No words. Now, Burberry's response was that they were inspired by the marine theme or the nautical inspiration of a rope, and I'm not buying that. I don't know, it's how can you get that wrong? I feel like if it was anywhere but around the neck or near the head, it wouldn't have been as bad. I still think they would have catched some backlash, but I don't think it would have been as bad. Now, a lot of people came at Burberry because they were being insensitive about mental health and suicidal people. But also when I think of noose, I don't know if it's because I'm Black, but I think of Jim Crow, Reconstruction, slavery. That's what I think about. So on top of that, you got a double whammy here. Like, you all were insensitive about mental health, and then didn't even occur to you that there's American culture, slavery, hello. But they have since apologized as well, and their excuse was the whole nautical theme. A lot of these brands that I'm noticing, they say it will never happen again. We're gonna make sure that it's gone or erased. No, you shouldn't forget, because that will keep you from doing the same thing again. Also, I would like to know how you guys are taking the steps to not do it again. And don't just address the mental health side. I understand that that's a very big issue, and that is very important to address that. But there's also another underlying issue, which is talking about country's history deeply rooted in slavery. And I feel like when you choose to ignore one thing over the other, you're kind of being ignorant or complacent in, oh, well, we only offended one group of people. No, you offended two groups of people. And to me, that's just not acceptable, especially when you're not acknowledging that there were two meanings behind this whole marine knot. On to the next brand. Now, the next brand is the company and the person, I want to say. It is Marc Jacobs. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys know that Marc Jacobs has had some controversy regarding his fashion shows. And in 2016, he did a homage to African culture, yet there were barely any Black models. I don't see how you can take someone's culture and then not even pay homage to the people that created that culture. So I'm gonna pop a picture of this. So Marc Jacobs didn't necessarily culturally appropriate clothing, to my knowledge, but he did use cornrows and Bantu knots. Okay, let me just stop right there. Bantu knots have originated by the Zulu tribe in South Africa. And Bantu come from the Somali Bantu descendants from Mozambique and Tanzania. So Bantu knots are very deeply rooted in African and African American culture. So are cornrows, braids, most of the braids that you see attributed from Black culture. Now, I'm not mad I am mad, forget it, I am mad. Because it's crazy how, And I know I've grown up experiencing this, how when Black people use their own culture or wear their hair in the way that is romanticized in their culture, in white society, it's categorized as unprofessional or ghetto or rough or whatever you want to call it. But once it's on the runway, or once it's on a white model, or once it's in mainstream culture, it's edgy, it's trendy, it's what's in right now, it's cool, you love the culture. But then when the people from that culture wear it, you're telling them that they can't be a part of you, that we're so beneath you because we're ghetto looking or unprofessional. And that really hurts, because it's like, oh, so on me it's unprofessional, but on your models it's edgy. And it gets worse. So as a response to this, unlike Gucci and Burberry that made an effort to make it seem like they were outraged and cared about the backlash they were receiving, Marc Jacobs kind of defended himself and was saying that it wasn't cultural appropriation and that he has a right to basically put Bantu knots and cornrows on his white models, trying to own the look because Black people straighten their hair. What kind of sense does that make? I really don't get that. I was appalled. I was like, in case you didn't know, and this is sad because, Marc Jacobs, I used to be like, oh, he went to my high school, and I was attending Parsons. I was like, oh, he went to my college, and that's so great. And you think that person's from New York, they're cool. You think you know them a little bit. No. The reason, and I'm not saying this is the sole reason, but a lot of times the reason that Black people straighten their hair is because they're told that their natural hair is not good enough. Their natural hair is unprofessional, curly. They called it nappy. They call it whatever. There's so many names for it now. And so we were told that our hair is ugly. And so in order to conform to society or fit in with white society, we had to look more like them. So we had to straighten our hair because straight hair is deemed as professional. Straight hair is deemed as beautiful. And so if you constantly are telling a group of people who have been oppressed for over 400 years that their hair is ugly, they're gonna start thinking it themselves. And even if they don't think their hair is ugly, they're gonna subconsciously think, oh, I have to straighten my hair because I wanna get this job interview. Oh, I have to straighten my hair because I want this person to hire me. Oh, I have to have my hair a certain way, or I can't wear braids to work because I wanna get this promotion. Also, hair is a way for Black people to express themselves. And I feel like when you take that form of expression away from them and use it as now it's for everybody, now it's cool, then you lose that cultural element, you lose that cultural history. Like at first, I didn't even know Bantu knots came from the Bantu people from Mozambique and Tanzania. I know that, I've known that for a while now, but at first I was just like, I knew it was part of Black culture, but I didn't know how deep it was. I didn't know that it came from a country, tribes, rituals, things that were deeply rooted in our history that also we're told to ignore. We're not taught. We're not taught these things in America. And I think that really takes a toll and is a really crucial point, because that is another reason why we're told to hate our hair, because we don't know the stories or we don't know the history behind certain things like we should because of slavery. Another brand that has culturally appropriated or has been racist towards Black people is Prada. Now, Prada has had their faults, and this one was an accessory. It was a figurine. I'm gonna pop a picture. It was a monkey figurine, and people attributed that also to blackface. Now, I don't think it was as blatant, and I'm not necessarily gonna say they intended to mock Black people, but I feel that this was another form of poor judgment. And there was an article talking about how Italian fashion and Italian society isn't really fully aware of the racial charge in some words or images. Basically, they're not educated on American slavery, oppression in the Black community, and I find that hard to believe. I'm not gonna say they know everything, because it's a different country. I don't know what's taught there. I've never been there, so I can't judge. But I do know that if you're going to be a brand, a global brand that appeals to more than just your country, and you know that a lot of people in other, especially America, contributes a lot of sales to your brand, then you should make an effort to educate yourself on what is and what isn't acceptable, and what is and what isn't offensive. I feel like if you're taking our money, like Gucci, for instance, an $890 sweater, you should at least have the knowledge on what is offensive, what is racist, and what should not ever fly. Just like, oh, I forgot to mention the dreadlocks that Marc Jacobs also had in one of his fashion shows. And of course, it was on white models, colorful dreads. And his response to that was, I don't see color. I only see people. Now, some might think that that is not racist and that isn't a bad thing. It's like, oh, well, he doesn't see color, so he's not being prejudiced towards somebody because of their race. Now, I disagree, because that is being ignorant on your end, because you should make it an effort to love and appreciate people's cultures and different races and people for who they are culturally, ethnically. I don't see anything wrong with that. I feel like a lot of times we water down our culture to fit into society, and I feel like everyone's cultures should be appreciated. Everyone has something to bring to the table. It's not necessarily, oh, that's mine, don't take it, or, oh, that's mine, you can't have that. It's more so, I appreciate you, I see your color, and I respect it. Not, I don't see color, because that's ignorant. Because if you don't see color, then you don't understand different people's hardships. You're grouping people all into one and not recognizing them individually. And that's what doesn't fly with me. And I do appreciate these apologies, these public apologies, because I feel like they're needed. I think that's the start. That's the least that you can do, especially if, like, I'm not in the workforce, but I'm old enough to know, and I'm not dumb to know that these things take time to plan out. And the fact that, collections take months, if not a year or more, to produce and come up with. So the fact that throughout that whole time span, you didn't see anything wrong with that, I just find it hard to believe sometimes. It's also it's more than not being offensive. It's more than not being racist. It's more than not being ignorant. It's also about being inclusive. And if you had more of a diverse team and more people of different ethnicities on your team, this would have never happened. I'm not gonna say never, but I can be 99.9% sure that if Gucci, Burberry, Prada, Valentino, Marc Jacobs had more of a diverse team, half of these garments, half of these looks would not have flown. They would not fly. They would not fly because you would know, you would have somebody who's literally Black or literally Asian, because there has been Dolce, I'm coming for you next, has been some, you know, it's not just Black people that have been oppressed. But I feel like it's the most seen, it's the most done, and that has to stop, especially with this Black Lives Matter movement. I think that this pull up or shut up is a good start, but we also need to start calling and holding brands accountable for the things that we let slide. And what disheartened me was, and not even disheartened, what I was disappointed after the blackface sweater with Gucci. So many people still supported Gucci. People in my friend group, people that I knew, people I see down the street, a lot of these celebrities and these stars, Black celebrities, still rocked Gucci, still supported Gucci. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say and be like, oh, you can't wear what you want to wear, but you should know better. And I feel like you have more of a platform to evoke change. You have more of a platform to speak out against these racial injustices. You have more of a platform to speak out against racism in the fashion industry, because it happens everywhere. It's not even just the clothes, it's the models, it's the diversity in these teams, it's everything. And I can go on and on and on. Back to Dolce. So Dolce & Gabbana put out an ad, another Italian brand, put out an ad for their new collection. I don't remember what year it was, of Asians eating Italian food with chopsticks. Now, at first I was like, okay, like, I see what they were trying to get at, but at the same time, when I actually saw the ads and I saw the attitude that they wanted to portray, I was like, nuh-uh, that doesn't fly with me. I'm not necessarily gonna be super hard on them, because they did redo their whole campaign. They didn't just put out a whole sorry type thing. But I also feel like that's another thing. It needs to be held accountable. And I feel like if you're gonna support these brands, you should at least be knowledgeable and research and really understand that these brands want your money. And you have to make sure that if you're giving them your money, that they're respecting you. And that's all I have to say. So that's all the brands I'm gonna be covering today. If you guys have any brands that you've heard have done offensive things, insensitive things, racist things, please let me know, and I would love to add on to this video. I think that it's very important that we stay aware, especially nowadays, because of this Black Lives Matter campaign. I feel like a lot of companies are using this as a way to gain sales. I feel like it's something that people just jump on the wave for. And guys, also know that these companies that are donating, and you think, oh my gosh, they're donating $1 million to the Black Lives Matter or to the bail fund or the NAACP, that is a tax write-off. They are getting money for that. So don't think they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart, but I'm sure there are a lot, and I know there are a lot of brands that are sincerely adamant about change and have been inclusive and respectful since the jump. But I will say that we have a long way to go, and just I hope that I shed some light and brought some new things to your attention. And if not, I enjoyed making this video. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.